So we're gonna take a look at a portfolio here in Lynn of about 100 units. The landlord, Mark K, started back in 2007 and worked his way up to 100 units in 2019, 2020. This analysis was put together using recorded deeds, recorded mortgages, and tax assessor data. So let's get started. So this guy started with a purchase of three 6-unit buildings back in 2007, 56, 58, and 60 East Street. He purchased these buildings for $1 million back in April of 2007. These are the three 6-unit buildings. 60 Easties, I believe, is this brown 6-unit here on the right behind the blue car. Then 58 is this 6-unit, and then 56 Easties is this other 6-unit. And he paid 25% down, so 250 grand. So he purchases that April 2007, and it's off to the races. Nothing really major happens during the next few years until 2013. Before I go there though, just gonna show here the tax card for these three buildings. So this one is for 60 Easties. We can see that he has 6 units. This next one is for 58. He also has 6 units. And this one is for 56, which also has 6 units. So 18 units total. The recorded deed is here for $1 million. And it shows the three properties, 56, 58, and 60. And I like driving by property, so I took a video of these three properties that he started with back in 2007. So the mortgage for this, the recorded mortgage, is this document over here, and it just shows purchased that in April 2007 with Washington Mutual Bank. This changes later, and it's secured by these three properties. There's a blanket loan. All right, so let's move forward. So the affordable housing restriction is recorded in 2013 in favor of Lynn Housing Authority and Neighborhood Development. They probably got something in exchange for this. But interesting is that the restriction is only in place for one of the buildings and for 4 units. Unit 1, 2, 3, and 6. And it's effective from January 12, 2013 until January 11, 2018. So it's effective for only 5 years. So that's what happens in 2013. And then in 2015, that's a great year because he refinances. And so we see here first that the old mortgage that was taken out, the initial mortgage that was taken out with Washington Mutual Bank, that mortgage has been already assigned, but now to JP Morgan, and then they basically release the mortgage and say, hey, we're happy, we got our money. And he refinances with this other entity called Digital Federal Credit Union, which is going to pop up quite a few times later on, for 1.3 million. So that's the new mortgage. That's a refinance. And there's something interesting here, which is the property here. He's getting a mortgage for 1.3 million, and that means that the property appraised at something like what, 1.6, 1.7 million. That's just what, 8 years, 7 years after having bought it for 1 million. So he has appraised for what, 60-70%. And this is great, getting those 1.3 million. Of course, part of this has to go to paying off the other mortgage, the old mortgage. the balance on that note. But there's gonna be some money left here, and I suspect there was at least $900,000 cash left from here. And the reason is because of what he does next. In 2015, a few months later, he actually purchases this beautiful building, 30-unit building at 124 Green Street, which is only just one street over, and he buys it for $2.3 million, putting down $300,000 cash and getting a loan for $2.045 million. So that's this one. That's this building over here. So it's 30 units, it's a beautiful building. Here's the street view image, and here's the deed. So the sale is for $2.3 million, and he owns that in an LLC. And this is me driving by the property. And the mortgage for that, it's this note over here. It's an adjustable rate mortgage, which is probably great now that interest rates are coming down. And the mortgage is for just over $2 million. So at this point, with this additional 30 something units, he's up to 50 units. So if we take an average of $1,200 per month per unit, just an average, that means that the gross rents coming in per year are going to be close to 720 grand. This is gross, but it's very substantial. Then in 2016, just slightly over a year later, he purchases another building, and this building is a 21 unit building, and he buys it for $3.1 million, and that's this big beautiful building over here, 21 units. And in order to buy that, he takes out a mortgage, a loan for $2.5 million, and he pays down $630,000 cash. So these two down payments here, the $300,000 for Green Street and the $600,000 for Mall Street, they add up to about $900,000. That's something that could have come out of this refinance from 2015. So that's just amazing. Like, after refinancing a building in 2015, he's able to use that and buy 53 more units worth $5.5 million. That's pretty amazing. So at this point, he's at 71 units, grossing about just over $1 million a year. I have here the tax card for that building, for the latest one, 72 Mall Street, and it shows there's 21 units there. And the mortgage for that building, it's here. It shows the mortgage is for $2.5 million, and yeah, that's securing the property, 72 Mall Street. That's the collateral. So that's 2016. 2017, not much happens. 2018, the affordable housing restriction that had been put in place 5 years before, in one of those 6 units, 6 unit buildings, finally gets lifted. And right away, I want to say about 11 months later, he goes and refinances those 3 6-unit buildings again. So this time, the buildings appraise for more money, and he takes out a mortgage for $2.1 million. So that's this one over here. And he takes that out with Greystone Servicing Corporation, which is the same lender that lent here for the purchase of Green Street and for the refinancing of Easties. So the same lender helps him refinance again. This time he takes out, so the mortgage is for 2.1. Part of that money goes towards paying off the old mortgage, and then he's left with some cash. And I think that amount should at least be $1 million. And the reason is, again, because of what he does next. A few months later, still in 2018, he buys these 3 properties: a 6-unit, a 2-unit, and an 18-unit building on Chase Street for $5 million. So that's these 3 buildings here. The building here, they're right next to each other. The building on the right, it's the yellow one is a 6-unit. The gray one in the middle is an 18-unit, and then there's a small building here. It's a duplex, 2-unit here on the left. And he basically gets a mortgage for $4 million. There's a $4 million. It matures 10 years later, which is very similar to other notes. These notes, they seem to last only for 10 years, after which he probably needs to refinance or sell. Most likely refinance with the same lender. There's $4 million, and he puts down $1 million. And I know that because the mortgage says that the mortgage is for $4 million, and the sale price, the blanket, is for $5 million. So you take $5 million minus the 4, and there's $1 million they're missing, and boom, that's the down payment. So yeah, this is the deed. Shows the blanket for those 3 properties at $5 million. Here's 8 Chase Street, here's 1214, and then 20 Chase Street. So at this point, those are additional 26 units. So it's 97 units. Grossing about, by my estimates, about 1.4 million a year. That's gross. And so we already saw the this, but I have the tax cards for those 3 properties here. So showing the 6-unit, then the 2-unit, and then the 18-unit. And the mortgage we had already seen. That's for $4 million with Greystone. And this is me driving there. That's the 6-unit. There's the 18-unit, and there's the 2-unit. And then finally, in 2019, he buys another duplex. That one is a little bit uninteresting, I think, because for this guy, it's small. It's only 2 units. He puts down 20%, 150 grand. Those 150 grand could have easily come from the rents. So he didn't have to refinance, unless they came from whatever he had left over, but doesn't matter. Well, what I was really interested in here is this growth here, this period of growth between 2015 and 2016. That's fueled by the refinance. Same here, this other chunk of growth between 2018 and 2019. That's also fueled by the refinance. And then finally in 2019, August of 2019, that building, that beautiful building, the one at 72 Mall Street, the 21 unit, he refinances that again, I think. Yeah. And oh no, he refinances that for the first time, and he takes out a mortgage for $3.1 million. So here's the mortgage. Same servicing, same lender, 3.1. So it probably pays off the old balance, and he's left with some cash in the bank. We're talking about August 2019. So we have a recession around the corner. We have the virus, pandemic, and this guy has some cash, plus 100 units, making money. It's a good position to be in. So, but what I've been very interested in is his growth, the strategies here, and even though he was off to like a great start with 18 units in 2007, it takes a while until he can grow to like 50 units buying that 30 unit building at Green Street. So really things don't start like growing. The exponential growth doesn't really start showing until like 7 years into this. And altogether it took him like what, 13 years. 13 years to get from, I don't want to say zero, but basically essentially zero to 100 units, starting with 250 grand. That's awesome. That's really, really cool. And so that's pretty much the end of my analysis. I don't think this is doable today in the same area. Even the same guy, I don't think is doable. And just because in the same area, just because the growth, the appreciation, I'm not sure it's gonna be there again. I don't know how much more this thing can go. However, I do think this is something that can be used. Like if we think of like concentric circles, I think the outer circle, the boundary where this sort of thing can be done. Back in the day, 2007, that boundary, Lynn was on that boundary. Nowadays, I feel that boundary has expanded further. So I think this is very well doable, but I think one has to go a little bit further out of the city. So I don't know if, as far as Lowell, Lawrence, there's a lot of multifamily there. I know Worcester has already increased in price a lot. You're looking at $100,000 per unit there. Springfield, Mass is more like what, $60,000 per unit. But it's definitely a very interesting strategy. Growing by basically appreciation and refinancing and focusing on big buildings. Nothing less than 6 units, 10 units, 20 units.